So welcome to the M2. So this is our space which was opened last year in October 2015. This is the second meditation museum in the world after the one that we opened in Silver Spring in 2009. And we would like you to be here because we are actually, when I came here, I was so amazed to see that the program is on Panache Desai, and so I looked up at the about him, and there are so many hits and so many things that he had to say, so many beautiful articles that he had. As you all know, Panache Desai was born and brought up in London, and then he moved to the US in 2003, and he has been a very beautiful person who has met a lot of spiritual teachers, and he has meant himself doing meditation and prayers, and has a very positive attitude, and he's very loving. He's a very loving person, and you would see that in a minute. But what I wanted to tell is, like, what the take-home message I got from him is, he says our potentials are infinite. So we have an infinite potential to exhibit, and we don't do that. And as for myself, I'm Dr. Karthik Venkatachalam. I'm a scientist in one of the major pharmaceutical companies, and I'm here because I'm also a student of the Raj Yoga meditation, and I actually took my spiritual learning from here with Sister Jenna and Sister Geeta. And as a scientist, I had so many questions because I have a reasoning mind, and you can't just blindly follow spirituality without learning, because from childhood I always knew that science and spirituality is connected. And so science and spirituality both has logic, and one is not without the other. And the main thing that hit me here is it was my second day, and Sister Geeta was giving the chapter 2 about the Supreme Soul, right? And I was like, okay, so what is this? Why are we called energies? And what is it about the Supreme Soul? What is the role of the Supreme Soul? And the first thing she said was, Brother Karthik, silence has a lot of power than science. So your questions will be answered when you are having a very silent mind. So I was noisy, okay? I gave a lot of trouble to them, and that hit me because I heard, okay, silence, what does silence do? So if I'm an energy, and I'm in this body, and this body is matter, right? And from thermodynamics, I know that when there is energy and matter, that is called a system. And what are we? We are open systems. We exchange energies. And when we are in the system, what happens is the law of entropy kicks in, and so we lose energy, just like a cell phone. And so we have to gain energy, we have to charge ourselves. So when you have to charge a cell phone, you go to the power outlet, right? The perennial source. So now I have to connect myself to the perennial source. And for me to tap my energy to the perennial source and charge myself is simply the meditation. And what happens with that is I gain power. And then the karmic cycle is nothing but the exchange of energies, right? It's the cycle of give and take. And so it's law of equal action and opposite reaction. So it is what is outcomes of the actions that we perform through this body. And so I would like to have a brief introduction about Brahma Kumaris, because M2 is run by Brahma Kumaris, and we are having Brahma Kumaris in 29 states in the US. And we are also having a network of centers around the world. We have 9,000 centers around 120 countries. And we also have 2 beautiful retreat centers, one in the West Coast, which is called Anubhuti in San Francisco, and one in the East Coast, which is the Peace Village in upstate New York. So without further ado, what we talk about in Brahma Kumaris is the intrinsic goodness in people, and we want to tap into that. And so I would like to invite my spiritual resource, Sister Jenna. So I've been really being a lot gratitude to her. Because of that, I'm here. Thank you, Sister Jenna.
Thank you. Just know how tall he is. So thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. One of the best I've heard all week. So is everyone comfortable? I hope so. Great. Please get cozy and move on down if you'd like to be closer. This is going to be a very special morning. My beautiful brother and friend, who I first met on the radio show for America Meditating. How many of you know of America Meditating Radio? How many of you don't? Oh, you need to take out your phone and download that app right now. So, because that's where I first met Panache, and we had a wonderful discussion on his soul signature book that he wrote so beautifully. And then after that, we ended up on the radio show in California, sharing together on UBN. But then surprisingly, we ended up at Oprah's house for dinner together. So he was looking out for me, come on, save my seat. He would save my seat. He would make sure I'm comfortable. He was like a really, really, really special brother. And I just know who you're about to meet and share the next hour or so with is a very, very special spirit. He's also accompanied by his beautiful wife, Jan, and so she'll also have a chance to meet with you later on at the end of the discussion. So as Dr. Van after, which, what I love about Kartik is that, and this is something that I want to appreciate, is that when you come to the Brahma Kumaris and you learn about yourself more, you don't reduce your capacity. He got his PhD. Sanjay, who's beautiful, hand of applause for the guitarist. Sanjay Agora, who also just recently attained his PhD. I told them, look, you can still do Brahma Kumaris Raj Yoga and still develop permanent head damage. PhDs. I know, it takes a while. I know, it's Sunday. I get it. And so what we are blessed with here is just some of the most beautiful people. And it's always my invitation to all of you to participate in the philosophy, the teachings, the sharing. Because we get better by the tests that we bump into, right? I was talking to Mary Williamson last week, and in her new book that's coming out, Tears of Triumph, which I thought it meant Tears of Trump. And she said, I know, I've had a few people tell me that it's Tears of Triumph. And she said, you're not conditioned by your pain. You're not defined by your pain. You're defined by what you do as a result of that pain. I just thought, Marion, that was it. That's all I needed to hear. And I think today you're going to hear some beautiful things from Panache Desai. And before I bring him out, I would like to just take us into just a minute of meditation and ask Sanjay to play me some... Isn't he beautiful? He's just such a beautiful young man. That's what happens when you study Raj Yoga, everybody. All right, surrender, doctor.
Farhan Akhtar is in town doing a live show, and he looks so much...
He must be his brother, yeah. They look alike, yeah. Oh, very good, very good. Very proud of you.
Thank you.
Very proud of you. All right, everyone. Did you already silence your cell phones? All right. Feel free to take pictures of whatever's around here. Tweet it out now. Facebook it now. I'm about to listen to Panache Desai at Panache Desai or hashtag Panache. Definitely at Meditation Museum. And we'll be happy to then share that wonderful journey in the world. All right. If I hear one cell phone on, oh boy. The yogi just stepped out. Breathe in deeply, inhale. Sanjay, could you play me something beautiful? Soft. Inhale deeply again, then exhale. Become very present. Breathe in deeply. Exhale. Breathe in deeply. Exhale. Allow yourself time to become quiet. To be present. Until the museum reaches a space of pin drop silence except for the guitar and your silent mind. You're here for something very important today. And even if you don't know what that is, it's not important. But just know you are in an important space at an important time. And I, the soul, choose to be pure, to be loving, to be kind, to be myself. Breathe in deeply. Exhale. And as I invite my sweet brother Panache out, I would like you to give Panache a one-hand clap. And here, my brothers and sisters, is the lovely Panache Desai, who is in the room, and his beautiful wife, Jenna Desai.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
It's lovely to be here.
Yes, take it over.
Thank you. So, I'm going to have a seat. It's amazing how when you come somewhere you can immediately have a feeling of coming home. And my deepest wish for you is that you all have a feeling of being at home wherever you are in the world. That you access a place of connection within you that is so awe-inspiring. That you begin to embody the peace that is your natural state of being. And so I am deeply honored to be here, and I welcome you all with all of my heart. We are alive at a marvelous time. Everything that has been repressed or suppressed or denied within us is being brought into the forefront of our awareness to be embraced. Simply stated, the more wilder the world becomes, the more we are being given signs and indicators that we are evolving into the fullness of our expression. We all have an infinite potential. And that infinite potential lies dormant within each of our hearts. In fact, the divine God, the source of all, is in fact infinite. And we are all relating to this infinite presence in whatever way we can. In truth, we are all one family, one heart, and one energy. Humanity is on the verge of fully embodying its divine potential once more. And it is my deepest wish that you, sweet souls, end any and all forms of inner resistance that you have to being yourself, so that you may access this infinite plane, one in which abundance becomes the moment-to-moment experience of your life, one in which health and vitality become your new normal, one in which an unshakable connection becomes the foundation of your every moment, one in which you know who you are, and you shift your identification from your mind and your body and all that is temporary to that which is eternal. And so as much as I'm going to speak to you, I'm also here to lovingly offer you the experience of who you are and guide you into a place of acceptance within yourself so that you can begin to live from that place in every moment. When you finally have the courage to be who you are, your life takes off in unprecedented ways. When you finally have the courage to embrace your design, and you finally have the courage to accept every single aspect of your personality and of your being, there is no longer any limitation that can hold you from your greater destiny. And so this morning, we're here to be freed of everything that no longer serves us, so that we can fully and completely live. Life is an incurable disease. From the moment you were born, you started to die. The question, my sweet friends, is, what are you going to do while you are here? How are you going to live? What greater purpose are you going to bring into this world? Are you going to continue to temper who you are in order to perpetuate the mediocrity that we've come to accept as normal? Or are you going to finally just be happy, be abundant, be loving, and live as the fullness of who you are unapologetically, because the infinite intelligence that birthed you is flowing through you right now? So we're going to lovingly begin to peel away the layers that we've accumulated through the course of life and living that keep us distanced from our authentic selves, that keep us distanced from our blessings, that keep us separate from the oneness that is our essential state of being. So are you ready? Are you excited? Good, because I can't undo it. So I just wanted to make sure. So suffer while you still can, for those of you that are in the room and those of you that are on the webcast. Okay? Good. So just close your eyes and just open your palms. And just allow your body to relax completely. Meditation, quite simply, is the divine art of chilling out. When we simply sit in a place of relaxation with a one-pointed focus, our awareness expands into a greater expression, and we are able to commune with life in a deeper and more meaningful way. So from the moment of your birth, you've been conditioned to function at a level that is normal. Of course, normal being fear, lack and scarcity and separation. Normal being limitation. Normal, for the most part, being a state in which you cannot access the dynamic stillness that lives at your core. Our soul exists on the subtlest level of vibration and frequency. We all have a soul, but very few of us will ever consciously connect with it. That is why meditation and prayer and praise and worship came into being, to offer us a doorway into conscious communion and connection with our soul. The layer beyond the soul is the emotional layer. The layer beyond that is the mind. And the layer beyond that is the physical body. So in truth, we are vibrational beings, and we are experiencing our lives based on our own personal rate of vibration and frequency. The only problem is that you were born into a world where judgment is more normal than acceptance. So you've been taught from the moment of your birth to judge aspects of yourself, or to deny aspects of yourself, or to repress aspects of yourself. And of course this constitutes suffering. Suffering being a completely inauthentic state. Suffering is 100% inauthentic. So I'm going to lovingly ask this infinite presence known by so many names to just embrace you now, where you are, as you are. Quite simply, it's an infinite energy that vibrates at the resonance of love. That's all it is. It's where we came from, it's what we're here to embody, and it is where we will return to. And I'm just going to lovingly support you in coming into a place of acceptance of all that you are, so that you may begin to operate and function in this world from this place of connection. I love your sadness. I love your depression. I love your rage. I love your anger. I love your fear, your insecurity, your worry, and your stress. I love your ego, the unique lens through which the divine gets to express itself in this world. The root cause of your outstanding fashion choices this morning. I love your past. I love every choice and every decision that you have ever made. I love your guilt. I love your shame. I love everything that constitutes your unworthiness. I love every addictive pattern and behavior. I love all of the ways in which you distract yourself from your magnificence. I love your mind and I love your thoughts. I love your beliefs. I love all that you are, because there is actually nothing wrong with any part of you. Just take a deep breath. There is nothing wrong with any part of you. There is nothing wrong with any part of you. Just rest in the awareness of your breath. To observe oneself without judgment is the highest form of spiritual practice. Simply rest in the awareness of the truth that there is nothing wrong with you. You are not the problem. You never have been. You've just been conditioned to conform. That's all. You've been conditioned to function in a way that is socially acceptable. You've been conditioned out of your magnificence. Good. Just take some deep breaths and you can bring your awareness back to the room. So if we can accept the truth that there is nothing wrong with us, and we can actually finally begin to work with who we are, which by the way is who we are only ever going to be, coincidentally. You're not going to wake up and be Brad Pitt tomorrow, or Angelina Jolie, or anyone else other than you. If you only ever have the capacity to be who you are and who you've been created to be, then surely the acceptance of that is liberation. Just imagine for a moment, or begin to tap into how much energy you waste every day trying to be somebody other than you. And maybe pretending to be somebody other than you really is the root cause of all human suffering. You see, we're all limitless beings pretending to be limited. And that's why most of you, when you go home for the holidays, you pretend to be 10% more miserable than you actually are. So that you won't be judged. Because your families, for the most part, have already unfriended you on Facebook. They already think you're strange. Because you're happy. And you're peaceful. And you're not dramatic. Because for the most part, you know that there's more and you're able to access that more. Because you have an alert mind. Because you're willing to know yourself as more than you've been told. Because you are on the leading vibrational edge of human evolution. Spirituality 2.0, quite simply, is authenticity. It is what we are evolving into. The end of all of this is one day you will look in the mirror and you will realize that that which you have been seeking has been dwelling inside of you your entire life. That which you have turned yourself inside out for is actually your natural state. So I invite you this morning in this room and around the world to stop being normal. I would like you to come back to being naturally who you are. Because on that level of human experience there is no suffering. And that doesn't mean that life doesn't still happen, of course it does. But the difference is that you are able to remain in harmony with what is occurring in life. My sweet friends, you simply don't trust in yourselves and you don't trust in your greater reality. That's all this is about. And it's time once again to start trusting in yourself and in your life. Because the only place where you ever need to place your belief is within you. Every single one of you, as I see you, is an entirely luminous being. You just have the illusion of form and solidity and story for the journey that you're here to live. That's all. So at a certain point we have to stop buying into that which is superficial and start tapping into that which is supernatural. Because when that happens, all of a sudden we start to experience synchronicity and flow and possibility in a way that is unprecedented. So I'm asking you, and I'm having the audacity to ask you to leave behind everything that you think you know. Because maybe everything that you think you know actually isn't complete. It's time to start aligning with something that is mysterious, that is unknowable, that is ever expanding, ever evolving. Something that is perfectly reflected and demonstrated in all of nature. The grass doesn't stop growing to make the other blades of grass around it in some way feel more comfortable because they're not growing at the same pace. Trees don't stop flowering. The sun doesn't stop shining. All of nature perfectly reflects this greater universal principle that we begin to tap into when we finally stop fighting our design. Your humanity is the doorway to your divinity. Your humanity is the doorway to your divinity. It is why you are here. To be fully embodied and to be profoundly human. That is where your connection and that is where your power and strength resides. And so, stop apologizing for who you are. Stop trying to fix, heal, change and improve who you've been created to be. That thought comes from the assumption that in some way you know better than the one that made you. All the while missing the point that of course that is a futile insanity that can only lead to frustration. The very second you align with who you are and start to live what I've come to lovingly call your soul signature, your life takes off in unprecedented ways. Because in that, you begin to align coherently with your reality. You begin to understand that life is on your side. You begin to disengage from the reptilian brain that has kept you trapped in survival. And you begin to engage in life in a way that is harmonious, in a way that is empathic, in a way that is compassionate, in a way that is loving, in a way that is kind, in a way that is generous. You begin to engage in life in all of the ways that you have come here to express and share all that is within your heart. Spirituality isn't a destination. It's a decision. It's a decision. And it's a decision that begins with your willingness to finally just simply be yourself. Because the truth is, whether you're yourself or not, they're going to judge you anyway. So you may as well be yourself and be at peace. And tap into the greater miracle that life is. And tap into the greater heaven that lives within you. Than to continue to live some version of reality that doesn't allow you to be yourself. If you have to pretend to be something other than you in any area of your life, then you are doing yourself and this entire planet a disservice. Some of you have compromised yourself out of your connection. You are the most sacred place of all. You are the place through which this infinite energy expresses itself uniquely in this world. Dishonoring you is, quite honestly, offering all of creation a disservice. So at some point, we finally have to decide to be ourselves, to be who we are. My journey has been one of coming into a place of acceptance. It has been one of shaking off the confines of conventional thinking. It has been one of evolving beyond every belief system and ideology and box that society and limited thinking has deemed that I have to function within. It has been one of going beyond our known reality into one that is far more expansive and far more compelling than any material thing will ever be. And I can say to you, having come back from that plane and having lived in communion with that plane for the majority of my existence, that that is the future of our planet. That the reason why you're here is because there's something within you that is stirring and awakening and remembering. And the funny thing is that no matter how much you try to pretend, you just simply can't anymore. You're just not that good. No matter how much you try and struggle and suffer and buy into what everybody else is doing, you just can't anymore. There is something in you that is wanting to emerge that you can no longer deny. But that something that's wanting to emerge is the very thing that has the capacity to bring you into alignment with your heart's deepest desire. I am shining in all of my glory without even trying. That is the end result of your willingness to simply decide to be you. To feel everything there is to feel. To live in harmony and alignment with all that you are. Because the only person that you have to love is you. You are always with you. The only problem is that you forget to love the one that you're with. We've been taught to look outside. We've been taught that love and abundance and health and all of these things exist outside of us, and that is why we suffer. Because we have an attachment to things that are transitional, that are transitory. That in the same moment that they bring us happiness, could in the very next moment be a source of suffering. So then what is it that we are holding on to, and what is it that we are striving toward? It's time to remember. It's time to wake up. And it's time to fully live in alignment and connection with ourselves, now and forevermore. Would you like that? Yes. Are you ready for that? Yes. Good, because ultimately, that's our greater purpose now. I firmly believe that within 3 generations we can eliminate all of this immature nonsense that we call being human. We are simply an immature species maturing into our magnificence. That's all that's going on. And the epic tantrums that are playing out all over the world are nothing more than a last futile attempt to maintain some sense of control in an absolutely out of control universe. at some point we have to understand that we are simply along for the ride. And that we hit the jackpot by being born on this wonderful blue gem of a planet that is the envy of all of creation. The fact that you are breathing means there is hope, and the fact that you are alive means that there is still something great in you that needs to be shared. And it doesn't matter where you've come from, and it doesn't matter how you've lived, and it doesn't matter what you have, because no external factor can determine who you are. No external factor or situation or scenario defines you. You are only ever as limited as you allow yourself to be. So, close your eyes and open your palms. We're just going to lovingly free you of all forms of limitation, because we can. Just allow your body to relax. And just allow yourself to simply be here. Again, resting in the awareness of your breath. It's no accident that in most esoteric traditions or mystical paths, the word for your breath and the word for spirit is the same word. When we simply observe our inhalation and exhalation, we are abiding in the eternal presence of the divine. We are abiding in the presence of God. We are abiding in the presence of love. This act in and of itself has the capacity to transform your life into a living meditation. Dynamic stillness. Stillness 2.0. Stillness beyond your asana and your meditation room. Stillness that allows you to create and innovate. That allows you to flourish and thrive. So I'm just going to lovingly ask this infinite presence, this infinite ocean of golden luminosity that just loves you, the divine of your heart, the divine of your choosing, to just fully align with you completely and totally right now. Going to ask that your heart, mind and soul be fully aligned with this infinite majesty that you were born of, that you are a part of, that you came from, that you are here to represent. Just going to invite any and all forms of fear to shake out of you. Any and all emotions that you've repressed or suppressed to begin to just simply dissipate and dissolve. Going to ask that you be opened up to dynamically receive, recognizing that your inner connection determines the quality of your life. That your inner connection determines the quality of your life. Just continue to breathe and relax and allow. You are only ever as limited as you allow yourself to be. It's time to fully commit to being who you are. Time to just simply relax into being who you are. I'm going to ask that you be once again reminded that you are abundance itself, that you are health and ageless beauty, that you are a thing of splendor, you are holy, you are sacred, that you are love itself, made manifest in human form. And that you be vibrationally aligned or energetically aligned with the divine. completely. Right now. So that you be completely freed up to express your soul signature, your uniqueness, the miracle that is you. Feel the energy in your palms, soles of your feet, in your heart, in the crown of your head. Fully connected, fully aligned, fully ready to be you, fully ready to embody all that you are, fully ready to shine. Oneness is an all-inclusive state of being. I'm going to lovingly ask that you be supported through the power of grace to cultivate an all-inclusive relationship with yourself, so that you may have an all-inclusive relationship with your life. In that state, all of creation bends to meet you where you are. In that state, everything that you have always wanted, everybody that you need to meet, and every experience that you need to have, makes itself available to you effortlessly. Freed of all struggle, freed of all suffering, freed of all limitation, flowering into the fullness of who you are here to be, now and forevermore. Okay, take some deep breaths, and gently and slowly you can begin to bring your awareness back once more. Courage, which simply means to live from the heart, is a key quality that we must all cultivate. In a world that is committed to being miserable, it requires a lot of courage to be happy. In a world that is committed to disease, decay, and death, it requires a lot of courage to be healthy and vibrant. In a world that is committed to conflict, it requires a lot of courage to be peaceful. In a world that is committed to perpetuating separation, it requires courage. Requires an alignment with the heart in order to embody oneness. Everything that you have is there, within you, as it always has been. And it's simply now time to allow it to emerge. It's time to allow it to emerge by maintaining an inner focus in the midst of your outer experience. Dynamic stillness. So, I would love for you, as much as possible, to simply just rest in the awareness of your breath. I have heads of state, CEOs, movie stars, musicians, and housewives all throughout Northern America and the world, resting in the awareness of their breath. And I'm happy to say that the end result is that people are now more peaceful and more responsive to life than they ever have been. we don't have to react and we don't have to be victimized. By simply remaining connected to what is real and what is true, we can be empowered to navigate life in the midst of whatever comes. Because wherever you are, my sweet brothers and sisters, the divine is. The divine of your heart is with you. Remember that. Connect with that. Trust in that. And that remembrance will carry you through whatever it is that you are going through in your life in that moment. Because in truth, that is the only support that you need. I've noticed that everything else comes as a result of that conscious remembrance. And so, my deepest wish for you is that you go on from this moment to fully live all that you are. That you go on to fully embody everything that you've come here to be. And that you live your soul signature. You live your unique purpose by ending your inner resistance to being yourself. And simply, once and for all, being at peace and being at home in your own skin. Acceptance is the fastest path to oneness. That allows you to align with what is. And you are never going to win against life. So it's time to fully align with life and with yourself so that you can be free. So that you can be free. So, Sister Jenna, how are we doing on our time? Good? Excellent. How's everybody doing? Good? Should we transition to some questions so we can support people? Yeah.
I like the one in acceptance.
Okay.
It's been lately my word for the last month.
Let's get you a mic. Come here.
No, it's just that. Thank you.
Lately my word has been acceptance. To what extent? To what extent has the soul truly embodied the natural nature of accepting all without any judgment?
So when everything for me came to a clarity when I had a direct experience of what the divine is. And up until that point, I had basically lived in denial of who I was and why I was here. So being Indian, on the weekends we would go and see saints and sages and teachers who were visiting London. There's a big Indian population. And we'd also watch Bollywood movies on the weekend. And basically at the end of the program you would line up for maybe an hour or 2 hours, depending on who it was and how many people were there, to just be in the presence of this enlightened or self-realized being. At the end of every one of these encounters they would always say to me, "Thank you for incarnating, we've been waiting for you. And you're here to shift the consciousness of humanity." To which I would always frown and laugh and wish that I could secretly go back to my house and watch Knight Rider and Airwolf. I was the last thing in my own mind that the divine would send to this world to shift the consciousness of humanity. Plus I also didn't fully understand what it meant, actually, at 7 years old. So my life was a very interesting evolution of acceptance, because for me, I'd been told my whole life that I was here to do something, I'd been told my whole life that I was here to share something, and of course it was a reality that I didn't want to embrace. Exactly. And so little by little, I began to have lots of experiences along the way. And all the time I was profoundly connected to everybody. Somehow I could feel everything in them. I would know everything about them. There was no sense of separation between myself and the other. I was everybody and everybody was a part of me. And of course that was very hard to navigate, because you're connected to everything so completely and so profoundly that there's no separation. And so this consciousness or this awareness that everybody's trying to evolve into, for me, actually became a source of suffering, because nobody in my life was embodying this. Everybody else was in pain, they were in resistance, they were denying who they were. And of course, because we as human beings have a need for belonging, we will do lack, limitation and scarcity just to belong and fit in. Because we have a need for belonging. That's why most of you need to have the courage to be who you are in the midst of being with your families. Because some of you really, in truth, are very afraid to be all that you are with them. You'll be it when you're by yourself, you'll be it when you're in your meditation center, when you're in your practice, but you won't be it in your home. It's time to let go of that need for belonging, which is a need to be liked, and understand that ultimately we are here to be loved, and that that is more important than being liked will ever be. And so I went on this amazing journey of denying who I was and trying to resist my soul signature, which of course doesn't work. And I got to a point in the age of about 21 or 22 where I simply sat down with my mother and said, "Mum, listen, I'm living everybody else's version of my life. When you're Indian, you typically listen to your grandparents and you follow their instructions and you go on to study whatever it is that they deem to be a good thing for you to study, so you can go on and run whatever the family business is." And of course I was at a point where I'd gotten to a point where it just didn't resonate with me. So my journey was one of going away for 6 months to really get in touch with who I am, to be with myself, to get to know myself instead of knowing myself through the eyes of other people, to once again come back to my soul signature, to come back to who I authentically was. So this journey began an accelerated catharsis within me. And little by little, over time, I began to once again align with my destiny. And this culminated in the direct experience of the divine that I had, because I had gotten to a place where I had, one night in frustration, screamed out loud and said, okay, if I'm indeed here to be a messenger, then I need to experience who or what God or the divine is. Unless I've had that experience, I'm not going to travel the world and look at people in their eyes and tell them that this is who they are. It's not going to happen. And so thankfully, through my yearning, or screaming one fateful night out loud, this experience came into being, where I was shown quite simply that we're all just a part of this infinite energy. And actually the funny thing is that when we die, now, as documented by near-death experiences, we all go down the same tunnel, but based on our religious belief, whoever we believe in meets us at the end of the tunnel. And that's out of the divine's compassion for us, so we don't turn around and run the other way. So, for example, if you're Christian, Jesus will be there. If you're a Hindu, Krishna will be there. It doesn't matter, right? Whoever you believe in will be there to greet you, because the divine relates to you in whatever way you can relate to it. What that means, my beloved friends, is everybody's right for them. They may not be right for you, but everybody is right for them. And so, in addition to this experience, I was shown very clearly that the soul is on its own perfect journey. So what that means is you can't mess it up and you can't fail. And that actually on the level of the ego or the identity, we have the illusion of choice or free will. But actually we are only ever aligning with that which we have already chosen. So free will actually is an illusion or a state of being that we can enjoy on one level of who we are. But at the deepest level, we are only walking toward our destiny, and we are only ever in alignment with that which is meant to happen. Now the magic is that when we surrender to that, we're at peace. When we surrender to life and we give up our preferences and our prerequisites and our choices, and we simply surrender to whatever arises, we're at peace, we're harmonious, we're coherent. Science now has a wonderful word term, coherence. We're now coherent with life. There's no longer any resistance to what is happening. And it's in that state that we become 100% aligned and vibrationally or energetically efficient. So the soul is on its own perfect journey. And the personality has the illusion of fumbling through this perfect journey. But nevertheless, the personality is the servant of the soul.
Can I be a little bit of a...
Of course.
An angel's advocate. In Washington, D.C., many of us do believe that we're here to do very significant things, Not to say that in Timbuktu or in Sedona, Arizona, they don't feel the same too.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems to be a very amplified awareness here.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I've spoken to hundreds of thousands of people, and it reaches a point where there's a feeling like you really want to make a U-turn, but you don't know where to go. It's okay, I've done the education, I've gone to the Ivy League, I've gotten the perfect job. It still doesn't feel like it's the right fit. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say that there's someone here today who feels like after they've really done everything right, everything that they're supposed to do, inside of them is something is not the right fit.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps they can't go away for 6 months and scream out to God and say da-da-da-da-da,
Mm-hmm.
because there's too much that pulls you. But even though I know that we can,
Mm-hmm.
the question is how? What if there's someone sitting here who says, I really, Panache, I want to make a shift, a change. I just don't know where to begin.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell them?
Well, the first thing is I think that we have to cultivate a level of absolute honesty with ourselves about our lives. Most of you got married on the first day of being married. You knew that you were marrying somebody that you weren't supposed to really be with. And of course, you're still married. Some of you have had the courage to make a shift. Others of you embarked on careers and professions that you were told that would be good for you, but of course you go into work every day suffering because you don't authentically want to be there. And of course then now your survival is dependent on you being at work, and so you won't make the shift. You see, really it's up to us. It's up to us to finally have the courage to live a life that is in alignment with our hearts. And for that, the only price that you have to pay is absolutely ruthless honesty with yourself. As I shared earlier, life is a terminal condition. If you only had 6 months to live, would it really matter? But of course the truth is, we don't think that way. We've been conditioned to function in roles and responsibilities instead of to condition on the level of freedom. Instead of to function on the level of freedom. And so of course then we sacrifice and we compromise. And we stop living our lives. And it's very common in parents. We'll address our relationship once our kids have gone off to college. I'll live my life once I'm an empty nester. I will live my life when. I will live my life when. I will live my life when. My sweet friends, the only commodity that is worth anything in this reality is time. It's the one thing that you can't get back. Don't waste it. So if anywhere in your life you are not living in alignment with your heart, then there's something that you really need to look at. And then beyond that, there are some steps clearly that need to be taken to bring you into alignment with what is really meant for you. Because it's all about that which feels good on the level of your heart. And to go back to the whole DC question, which in some ways is very interesting, because I feel that the significance that we seek through our work is actually what's getting in the way of the greater work unfolding. And I mean that with love. You see, really, we can show up and play our part, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But we exist inside of systems and structures, quite honestly, that are going to continue to exist. And these systems and structures are designed to perpetuate a certain norm. Now, through the acceptance of what's playing out, and through the ending of our own inner conflict or chaos around what is unfolding, we can begin to become a place of peace in this world. And the more we allow ourselves to be that place of peace in this world, the more everything begins to shift and evolve. It's like this. How many of you have ever diligently, with all of your resolve, tried to solve a problem in your lives? Raise your hands. Right. And for how many of you, it only ever really got resolved once you let go? So who's really in charge? Maybe all of this is a part of a greater divine play. One of the greatest discourses on spirituality that was ever shared was shared on a battlefield between a chariot driver and an incarnation of the divine. In the midst of a war, the greatest discourse on spirituality was delivered. You see, change happens when we stop fighting for change. Because the need for change actually is just another level of resistance. to what is. You perpetuate it. Everything that shifted in human history has shifted when humanity reached a critical point of awareness around what was happening. But actually, the majority of what shifted in this country shifted through the adoption of Indian principles of ahimsa and non-violence. Martin Luther King's entire platform was based off of Gandhi's wonderful work in India. And so, when we end our resistance to life the way it is, naturally it evolves. Give up your need for the world to be different and embrace the world the way it is. Then your love will begin to infuse every single area of life and living. And for those of you that have been in DC for long enough, you've been here now long enough to know that it really doesn't matter who gets elected. It's all just a show anyway. Because the President and the Prime Minister doesn't really have the power anyway. So let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. At some point you have to get clear about what you're doing and why. And you have to have the courage to tell the truth. Be honest with yourself, and the world will become yours. Okay? Does that help?
Yes.
Good. Excellent. Are there any questions from the floor or anything else that you would like to ask me? I know that we still have some time, and I really want to support you. So if there's anything else, don't be shy. And if there's another microphone, we can run it around, or you can just ask me out loud and I'll share.
I can pass the mic.
Perfect. Our PhD over here will run the mic around. Right there.
I think I figured it out.
Thank you, Panache, for your wonderful talk, and allow me to pull back some layers within myself.
Yes.
How does one strike a balance in revealing their soul signature as one who is on emerging as far as getting degrees, developing a company, writing a book?
Yes.
You know, these things that I feel personally are spiritually within me to release, to give birth.
Yes.
At the same time, strike a balance that it really doesn't matter about that, because I have to detach from titles, from positions, because those are illusions. And I really do understand that on an awareness level. But on this physical plane, understanding that to be a blessing to others, I feel I have to reach and attain those levels. So how do I strike a balance and achieve that, but at the same time let it go? So I'm somewhere vacillating between that.
Good. That's a great question. So basically you just perform the action without the attachment. That's it. You perform the action that spontaneously arises without the attachment. So if you feel called to write a book, write the book knowing that you are writing the book for you. And of course, when you really write it for you, you're writing it for all 7.2 billion forms of you. Every action that we perform in this world, really in truth, we are performing for ourselves. We just have the illusion of performing it for another. But when we end our sense of separation, we realize that we are everybody else, and everybody else is us. That's why there are so many root foundational teachings about treating others as if you wish to be treated yourself. Treat yourself as if you wish the world to be treated, and watch what happens. So your purpose, your path, your greater expression is all for your own evolution. So perform every action without an attachment to an outcome, and then you'll never suffer. You'll never suffer. Because then at that point, you see, the truth is that we can't take any of our actions with us. The only thing that we leave behind is the love that we've shed. And in that place, you'll be able to share the love that is in your heart fully. And just to let you know one other thing, I'm an absolute anomaly in my field. I was doing conferences with thousands of people without a book. I was actually the only author at an author conference without a book. When I sat next to Oprah, I hadn't written a book. So we have this formulaic approach to certain things that we've been told that we need to have to validate us. God's already validated you. You don't need anyone else's validation, and you can't avoid your destiny. So at that point, don't get stuck in the accoutrement that you're told that you need to have. Just be who you are and trust that all of that will happen. You know, I was actually prompted to write the book because of Oprah. At the end of the interview, she said to me, "That was fantastic. Write the book. Trust me, write the book." And she winked at me. So at that point, I'm like, okay, Oprah Winfrey just told me to write a book. So I guess I'm going to write a book. But my whole life has been that way. You see? Things come to you when you stop pushing for things. Opportunities arise when you stop seeking them. Life becomes so simple. You just do whatever's in front of you. You love who you're with. Or you feel your frustration. Or you feel your insecurity, or you experience your sadness. It doesn't matter. But you're just so fully immersed in the experience of yourself that you become so inherently a part of life unfolding in its infinite majesty. So perform the action without the attachment and watch what happens. Yeah. Good. Thank you. Is there anybody else?
I have a question, but he can answer.
Kartik. Yes.
It's a housekeeping type of... No, I'm loud enough. Sister Jenna tells me you've been a brother 15 years, but you have not learned to speak softly. I have a Amitabh Bachchan-like voice. This was so beautiful. I wish I can remember all of it, and I know I can't. So my question is, how do I get a copy of this? I know you're doing that. I want to listen to it maybe every day.
Okay. Why don't you just move in with me?
I'm not as good a guy as I look, so
Can you sing like Amitabh Bachchan too?
No, sir,
Oh, well that's okay. I love you anyway.
So I need a copy. I want to really listen to this every day.
Yeah.
And subtle changes that will take place. And Sister Jenna has been my mentor for 15 years. I think I've changed a lot. Right?
Yeah. He's like, not just the wife, right?
She's saying out of love, not out of fear.
She's like, yes, he has.
How do I get a copy? I want to listen to this every day.
So one of the things that I've noticed actually, and this is something that on a scientific basis is actually pretty fascinating, it's this process of entrainment. And what I've discovered is that, for example, if you have a tuning fork that resonates at a certain frequency, anything that comes into its proximity begins to match that rate of resonance. And spirituality is the same. So, for example, in our cultural heritage, people would walk for days to be in the presence of somebody who was embodying God consciousness. Why? Because proximity is power. Consistency, commitment, and repetition are the keys to breaking free of normality and once again returning to who we naturally are.
Could you say that again? Is that called discipline?
Yes.
Could you say that one more time?
Consistency, commitment, and repetition are the keys to breaking free of normality and once again returning to our natural state. You see? And the other three things, just three simple things that will really transform your relationship with yourself and your entire life. Acceptance, acknowledgement, and appreciation. When we're in a state of acceptance, acknowledgement, and appreciation, energy flows. When we're criticizing, we're condemning in some way, it represses or suppresses energy within the body. And so appreciation, acceptance, and acknowledgement fully allow energy to flow within us, because we're all a part of this greater vibrational matrix that is life, right? And it's only a matter of time until our learned brothers here begin to prove what the ancient mystics and yogis have known for millennia in a quantifiable way. I just believe that we don't have the instruments yet to measure subtle energy. And I think that the soul and everything that we're exploring in spirituality functions on the level of subtle energy. Eventually we'll get to a point where we'll be able to quantifiably measure it. Science is the external pursuit of evolution. Spirituality is the inner pursuit of evolution. But they're both the same thing, you see. So that's the blessing of that. So stay connected to me too. Yeah, I'd love that. And I'm sure we'll be able to get people a recording. Sure. Thank you, Kartik. Good. Anyone else? Yep. Doesn't matter. You pick.
Next choice. Okay.
I love what you just said about acknowledgement, appreciation, and consistency. And I think that at least I can pretty much speak for the people that are here, that are attracted to being here already, have really beautiful and loving hearts. And I think what you spoke about is really what happens. What gets in the way is not even so much what happens on the inside, it's all the messages we get from the outside.
Yeah.
The culture, the system that says, you better fit in, you better try harder, So speaking about being, these two forces, and this is something I'm really interested in as an anthropologist, how these things collide. And I'd love to hear what you have to say about it.
Sure.
She's another PhD in the room.
I like it. Authenticity is 100% disruptive.
What was that?
Authenticity is 100% disruptive. When you're in the presence of somebody who's an authentic being, they will disrupt your version of reality. Okay? And disruptive individuals serve as a catalyst for the remembrance and awakening of other people. Okay? It's like if you've ever been in the presence of an incredible piece of art, you'll either love it or hate it, you won't like it. Authenticity evokes whatever needs to be evoked in the individual. And so from an evolutionary standpoint, or from a, how we've evolved as a species, there's been certain societal constraints that have been placed on us. And these are just control mechanisms rooted in fear. Ultimately, you'll get to a point where you'll evolve beyond them. And you'll start to express maybe that which is not popular, or that which others know but don't have the courage to say out loud. I call it having authenticity Tourette's. All of a sudden, at inconvenient moments of life and living, you will just spontaneously spout out the truth in the middle of a meeting, or at a dinner conversation, or in a work environment. And I'm happy to say now, authentic Tourette's is becoming a global phenomenon, and people are all of a sudden in the midst of business meetings and in the midst of conversations with family and with others. They're just now coming to a place of speaking the truth out loud. It's a truth that we all know, but now we must cultivate the courage to express out loud.
That's when you get a kick under the table from the family member.
That's typically when you get a kick under the table. I've figured out that shin pads are a very necessary part of the authenticity Tourette's equation. Especially as long as everybody else is into people-pleasing and conformity. And I'd like to remind you that conformity is actually death. Just so you know. The more you conform, the more dead you are. The less you're alive. Because spontaneity really is a sign of spiritual evolution. When you're with someone who's 100% spontaneous, that's the only indication that you need that they're awakened and they're living in the remembrance of who they are. Spontaneity is freedom. You see? So as we look at our evolution and as we look at what's happening, we're being shaken out of all of the societal constraints and norms that we've been conditioned to operate inside of. It's like this collective construct called an economy or a political system or capitalism or whatever it is, or, it's all collapsing. And it's collapsing all around us, and it's only a matter of time until it all collapses. And then in that, something will emerge and something will evolve that really is representative of us as a collective, as one people. And so what you're seeing playing out right now is in this pantomime of political theatre that actually is very British in some ways. What you're seeing playing out right now is nothing more than the shadow of the political system being brought into our awareness to be seen. And the fact that it's being seen means that it's already over.
Beautiful.
I think we can take one more question for
yes.
of time.
Hi, thanks a lot for your talk. I read something interesting the other day that talked about gradations in consciousness on a daily basis, like an hourly basis. And what has struck me about my own spiritual understanding in the last several years, probably limited understanding, is that I'm either on or off, right? It's kind of like you're either conscious or you're unconscious.
Yeah.
But this writer was saying that there are gradations between different levels of consciousness, especially when you're waking and sleeping.
Yes.
So what's your understanding of that?
Great. And I'll need the mic, Karthik. Thank you, my friend. Karthik was like, great question. So I'll give you a very simple description. I live my life on 3 floors. The first floor is a superconsciousness, which is a state in which there's nothing but presence and divinity. The first floor is personality. I spend most of my time in the middle, on the second floor. And what I've discovered is that there's a spontaneous ebb and flow between these 3 states of consciousness and awareness. And so, as with all things, there's no certainty and there's no finality to any state. Everything fluctuates. I would just operate under the assumption that you are always connected. It's just that you've compartmentalized what connection looks like. It's impossible for you not to be connected, actually. And even when you transition your human form, you'll still be connected. So consciousness is the constant. Our experience of it is as expansive as we allow it to be. And that happens through cultivating an all-inclusive relationship with ourselves. So for example, when you are unconscious, which means you're exhibiting a behavior or a pattern that in some way you have deemed to be less than, or you've been conditioned to in some way reject, in that the opportunity is to come into acceptance of it. You see? Because ultimately, this wave that we are needs to be surfed. And actually what I've discovered is that the greater the contraction, the greater the expansion. So I love the contraction. Our potential is in the unconscious. It's not in the conscious. So the more we can simply welcome and embrace the unconscious and accept it and be in a place of neutrality around it, this wave that constitutes expansion and contraction eventually just becomes a flat line. That's samadhi. That's union. In that state, there's no longer any fluctuation in your inner state of being. So that's how it works. So for example, most of you, when you meditate, you'll access this expanded state of consciousness and awareness. And then, in your mind, it will go away, and when it's gone away, it's like all of a sudden you're not connected, you'll invalidate that state. But actually what you're doing is, you're engaging in spiritual practice to induce the contraction. That's the point of spiritual practice. The expansion induces the contraction. The conscious induces the unconscious. What you want is the unconscious. That's where the treasure is. You see? So, the more you align with what's happening, the more you live in a place of acceptance around what's happening, the more these undulations or pendulum-like experiences of expansion and contraction just become a flat line, to where there's just a steady constant. And that's the peace that passes all understanding. Because peace is the baseline of who we are. When you're experiencing peace, you're experiencing your enlightenment. See? And it's entirely possible to experience peace all the time. Peace is the constant. We just have to relax into it in every moment. Okay? Does that help? Good. Excellent. Thank you for your question.
That is so beautiful. That's what an EEG picks up as a delta wave.
Yes.
Because we are on live stream,
Yes.
there is one question from the online.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Of course.
Okay. So how we can expand to allow the divine during a stressful experience at work?
Christine.
So, stressful experiences, stress is wonderful. I love stress. It's just that we don't know how to navigate our stress. Okay? Stress actually serves an evolutionary function. Stress is necessary for growth. if there's no stress or no friction, no growth is occurring. So the problem is that we're fear averse as a species. Zebras out in the wild will see a lion, they'll run because their life depends on it. Once that lion has gone away, they'll shake out their fear and they'll go back to eating the grass or whatever it is that zebras eat. Human beings hold on to their fear and accumulate their fear. One of the manifestations of fear is stress. And ultimately, stress can only really ever truly impact who we are and the level of our identity. Stress typically arises in moments of overwhelm. We don't know that we have the capacity to meet what is being asked of us in each moment. So the antidote for stress is surrender. We're too how attached in our reality. So whenever I feel overwhelmed or something's going on, I'll just surrender. And all of a sudden, what's meant to arise will arise. And it's funny how it kind of happens that way. So the antidote for stress, which is of course 99.99% of all known illnesses, is surrender. We don't need to know how. We just simply need to keep walking toward whatever it is that we need to keep walking toward. The how will work itself out. You know, there are so many brilliant people in this great nation that had no clue how. They just had a vision. And they had a desire. And they had a yearning for something to emerge. Whether that's the automobile, or whether that's the plane, or whether that's a free nation where people have self-governance or have governance that's representative of the people. That was all born of stress. Stress isn't the problem. When stress arises, it means you're being prompted into a greater place of evolution, a greater place of expansion. Welcome your stress. Surrender in the presence of your stress. You don't need to know how. The how will resolve itself. You'll meet somebody, you'll hear something. Synchronicity will go to work on your behalf to bring you all that you need. So that's it. Surrender is the greatest form of stress management. Okay? It just means that you've reached the height of your capacity as an individual, as defined by your individuality. But at the end of your capacity as an individual is the beginning of the limitless capacity of the infinite. So what are you worried about? See? So I love stress. It's awesome because it means there's more coming. I love fear for the same reason. Every time I hit a pocket of fear, it means I'm at the edge of my comfort zone. But my greater potential awaits me on the other side of my comfort zone. I never want to be comfortable. I'm permanently uncomfortable. That's when I'm my most alive. So, I love your stress, Christine.
By the way, I just checked out his name. In French, it means courage.
Yes.
So, can we take the questions after the session?
Yes.
I would like to have, if Jane has something to say.
Jen. Jen has a lot to say.
Hello, it's such an honor to be here with all of you. I am Panache's wife. I just want to take a moment and speak to what Panache was saying about destiny. I had the honor of coming across this man 10 years ago on the cusp of turning 50, at a time that I felt my life was truly coming to an end. I had been in a relationship for almost 21 years, and everything I knew to be true, everything that I had worked toward had fallen apart. I was single, I was raising children. I had no idea how I was going to come out of this, but I was committed to finally discovering something within me that could sustain who I was here to be. I truly believed that when I was born in 1957 on July 22nd, God was having a very bad day. And while he was passing out all the good stuff, I was in the back of the line praying for curly hair. And it just wasn't good. And so like many of you, I threw myself into education. I threw myself into creating a life that would make my mother and father proud. I put everything that I wanted and needed and desired on the back burner. I never made a mistake. I was committed to being the best girl that I could be, the best young woman I could be, the most successful wife, the greatest mother. And along the way, I completely lost sight of my own uniqueness and who I was here to be. So on the cusp of 50, I had to face adolescence. And when you do that at 50, it's not pretty. There's a reason that adolescence happens around the age of 11 to 13. And after 18 months of working on myself and really starting to understand truly that the universe will put you in a place and on a path where you can't avoid your destiny. My best friend and my therapist brought me kicking and screaming to an event where a young Indian man was going to be speaking about a greater truth. Wow.
Deepak Chopra. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Up until that moment, I was born and raised in Minnesota. I had never met an Indian man. I knew nothing about meditation. I didn't stand still. I didn't sit still, because in order to do that, then I would have to look at the choices that I had made. But there I found myself in the back of the room, transfixed by what this young man had to say, and yet terrified. And so I fell back on my intelligence, on my ability to be disruptive. I was disrespectful. I didn't feel anything. I didn't experience anything, and yet at the deepest part of me, I was terrified. It was as if something was coming at me that I couldn't stop. You can't outrun your destiny. I did meet him. He loved everything about me that he just told you. He loved my anger, my fear, every mistake, every perceived mistake that I had ever made. And he assured me that my greatest life was still in front of me, but no one could give it to me. I had to be open to accepting it myself. And through that interaction, an incredible relationship was born. It took a couple of months. He's 21 years younger than I am.
Yeah.
And he broke every parameter for what I thought I could be.
Yeah.
He pushed every wall that I had. Don't fall into an idea of what your life should be. That universal presence can outdo you every moment of the day. Something greater is waiting for you. You have to be willing to let go of how you think it needs to show up. And that's when the magic and the miracles happen.
Let me say something real quick. So, in speaking about destiny, I'd introduced every woman I'd ever been with to my mother, and my mother has authenticity Tourette's. And my mother, to their face, would say, "Please enjoy your time with my son, but just know you're not his final destination in life." To their face, right? Lovely. Save time. It's wonderful. There was some explaining I had to do, clearly, after she'd said that. So I meet Jan, I'm like, and 9 days before I met Jan, I'm like, you know what, I'm really done with relationships. I get it, like, God's testing me. Like, I'm just going to be single. I get it. I'm supposed to be single. I'm just supposed to focus on why I'm here. 9 days later, I meet Jan. So, like, you know, I'm just going to save some time. So we were just friends at first, and I thought, you know what, you need to meet my mum. Save some time, right? Every reason in the world for my mother to say, not for you, what are you thinking, right? Meets Jan. Welcome to the family, we've been waiting for you. I'm like, this is acceptable? And for those of you that know Indian mothers, that's pretty remarkable. And actually the funny thing is that in India we have this wonderful cultural part of our lives where when you're born, your whole life's basically charted out for you. You can even go to villages in India where they'll read your entire life on a leaf. You just give them your father's name, they can tell you everything about you, everything about your father, everything about you, everything that's going to happen, seven generations behind. It's amazing. And so when you talk about destiny, and you talk about what's meant for you, trust that what's coming is greater than anything that you've experienced thus far. And I firmly believe that. Promotion and increase is going to become your new normal. And it's never too late, by the way. As long as you're breathing and as long as you're alive, there is something greater coming in your way. There's something greater for you. And so I just wanted to share that about destiny, right? And when Oprah asked me about my relationship, I just said, well, Oprah, love doesn't fit in a box. And actually, love doesn't fit in a box. What I've discovered is that typically when it fits in a box, it really doesn't work. So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry. Sister Jenna's hungry, so...
I'll just tell you. So we did get married. We've been together for 10 years. We have two sets of twins. We have a set of 3-year-old twins, a set of 1-year-old twins, and life continues to blow me away every single day because I am open to the magnificence of everything that is yet to unfold. So
Yeah.
it's never too late. Be in peace with whatever is unfolding. One of our 1-year-old twins has congenital heart disease. She has tested every limit, every way that we thought life would turn out. Everything is a blessing. This young child has opened us to greater ways of loving. It makes every day so much more sweet and amazing. So my greatest wish for you today is that you leave with your heart a little more open and that you are a little less judgmental of yourself and trust that greatness is in your path and you cannot sidestep it. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. That was lovely.
Thank you, Panache. Thank you, Jane. We would like you to get Toli and blessings, which is a small suite. Toli is a small suite, and the blessings from Panache and Sister Jenna. And I would also like to invite Sanjay here to play the music while you're having your suite and blessings. I would like you to do so.
So, do you know any Beatles?
Yes, he does. After the
Can you play All You Need Is Love?
He does. He does have
Good
that.
job.
You can do that, right, Sanjay?
I have a feeling Sanjay can do anything. Oh.
Everyone, on behalf of all of us here, could you give a big, big hand? Standing ovation, definitely. Yes, yes. Well deserved, well deserved.
Thank you.
Wow, look at that as the first
Happy.
standing ovation.
From Happy, too.
And Happy always gets a standing ovation. Please tell me in one word what you felt this morning. One word. That's 10.
I believe God is Karan He works through others, and I feel this brother was sent here for me to comprehend something that I failed to understand.
Beautiful. Go on, Sister Judah. Go on. So one word. What did you receive? Enlightenment.
Truth.
Love.
Connection.
Peace. Connection.
Authenticity.
Authenticity that breaks the rules. I love that word.
Remembrance.
Remembrance. Camille, why are you so elevated? Anyone else?
Home.
Home.
Open and embrace everything.
Open and embrace everything.
And forgiveness.
And forgiveness. Little William, what did you like from Panache's sharing today? He was one of our first students. Come on up here.
Aww.
Come on up here. Okay, and I want you to maybe just share what you took from your wonderful brother Panache or Uncle Panache. And if you were to ever ask him one question, what would that question be?
Why is life like it is?
Man, that's not fair. That's a big one.
No, it's not. Life is the way it is because God loves you. Your life is the way it is because God loves you. That means that everything that is happening, regardless of how you perceive it, is an act of love. Your life is the way it is because God loves you.
Did you like that? All right.
Oh, I like the t-shirt, by the way. Does that come in a bigger size? I like it. Who am I? The amazing Spider-Man. Yeah. Your life is the way it is right now because God loves you. Nothing is a punishment. It's just that in the moment sometimes you can't perceive the blessing. That's all. You know, we went through being in the hospital for 6 months in Milwaukee, 3 open heart bypass surgeries on Celeste in the first week of her life. And in that moment, we couldn't comprehend what was happening. We simply had to just surrender to what was and feel everything there was to feel inside of us. And there were moments where we believed that we weren't going to make it. And in the midst of all of that, we just stayed the course, and we kept staying the course, and little by little we moved through it. little did we know that this incredible soul's journey would bring our family closer together than ever before, and would help us appreciate life in a greater way than we had ever allowed. I don't waste time anymore. I don't waste a moment. Everything is so precious and so alive. So in the midst of my heartbreak, my heart was being opened to love more. It's not what it looks like. Come back to your inner connection and allow yourself to experience your life from this place of peace and remembrance, and watch what happens. So, thank you for your question.
Thank you.
I'd love to hear what Happy has to say.
Panache, I want to definitely thank you and Jen for joining us, because I know that your main assignment was here for Unity of Washington, D.C., and Sylvia and I are extremely close friends. And I think everyone here today, definitely we were all meant to be here. But I think more than anything else, we've received something that can help us to be better people and to make us a whole lot stronger, and real, and powerful. And to know that life's not just going to come easy, what we define as easy, which means my way. Easy is my way. Usually it's not ever going to come that way, and I think that everything that you shared definitely came from Baba, the divine, and just, I want to thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
So sweet. You see, I told you he was really sweet, right? And all the girls are going to be like, oh. So here we are at what we call, not the tail end, but a part of the continuation. We've heard, we have felt, we have shared, some of us have shared, and I'm sure that everyone in the room is thinking, how can I leave these doors and still be the same person as I walked in? And it feels grand when you're present and you're hearing and you're receiving it. So my whole feeling and advice is to complement what Panache shared with us today. That as I get up from this seat, I'm going to take one thing that he said and I'm going to be so consistent with it. Whether it was his acceptance, acknowledgement, or appreciation, or consistency and dedication and being constant. Something that you will decide today, every day, this is now a part of me. Because that's how the change is going to happen. Okay? Okay? So I'd like to thank the crew that helped to be here today, and for Santosh on the camera and live stream.
Yay, Santosh.
We had some very nice feedback in there. And Dr. Benquet that drove all the way from New Jersey.
Oh. Wow.
Just because he really felt that it was important for the sharing to be received physically. I know we're all so virtually connected, but nothing can connect to when you're physically really here. So it's a completely different story. I can see that some of you are wearing Meditate the Vote buttons, and if you're not, I really advise you to check the reception desk. As Panache said, it's not about any leaders right now anymore, it's about you. You've got to begin to make the choices that you wish to make your inner results very, very strong, very, very powerful. So the American Meditating Radio started Meditate the Vote on May 1st, which was the beginning of National Meditation Month. It's going to go on until November 8th. And we're not supporting a political party, we're not supporting a presidential candidate. We're supporting our own inner power and strength as people. So you want better health care? Become a vegetarian. Just kidding. But if you really want better
that's true.
I know, be careful. But if you really want better health care, then eat better and exercise and think better. And then you don't have to rely on somebody to tell you on a podium what they're going to do for you so that your health care costs are low. You're still going to have to make that choice. So Meditate the Vote is teaching us to make better choices for our own lives, despite whoever is in office after November 8th. So could everyone, I think on your chair you have a card that says Keep Calm, Meditate the Vote. we would like to ask all of you to hold the card up, and if you don't want to be in the picture, then put your head down. What we're going to do is just take a picture of the Keep Calm, Meditate the Boat, and send that out on our Facebook and share that. And of course, with the folks that are at the entrance, keep your card visible. If you don't have a card, we'll get one for you. Antonia will definitely, and Kartik will be taking your picture and meditate your boat with a big smile, because it's important. It's an important thing, and I know that we are really looking to make some major changes in our own lives as we move forward. A lot of our team players are here in the room, and I'm happy to say that last week we were in the White House. We got a chance to share the importance of this vibration in such a beautiful house. And I think a lot of good is going to come out of it. So what we need you to do is to give us videos that you meditate the boat and why. We need you to send us pictures. We need you to hold events at your home, at your schools. Dr. Proctor, who takes care of our educational part of Keep Calm, Meditate the Boat, has gotten 5 main universities already that signed up. And we're planning to get as many universities around the country to engage in the conversations that are on the back of the Meditate the Boat, such as what Panache spoke. Are you powerful enough to initiate change? Because if you lack courage, you're going to move with this system that's falling apart and you're going to blame someone. But it's not going to be them, it's going to be really up to you. So please talk to any of our representatives outside about Meditate the Boat. We are asking you to please go into your own Facebook and submit your picture and story and answer the question and share that with us. Hashtag Meditate the Boat. It's a really important movement. I don't know how many of you, I was just in New York with 29 states and 12 countries. And the conversation comes up again and again. And there's a lot of concern. And 2 or 3 mystics shared to me that they don't know why the mystics are saying that our 44th president will be the last one. So I kept asking, what does it mean? And they said, you're going to see a lot of riots. A lot of riots, a lot of disturbance in the country. We're going to be distracted. And they thought, that's a good idea, because Americans are going to need to find their own internal strength. So if each one of you come back to us...
Can I elaborate on that just a little bit?
If each one of you come back to us and tell us what you can do, we would really appreciate it, especially Lisa Harper.
Yeah. As we evolve, we're shifting from a one-to-many framework to a many-to-many framework. So what that means is we're no longer in a position where there's a singular authority. We're now moving into a place where people are empowered in their own connection, and their connection determines their experience. And everyone then works towards the benefit of everybody else. So that's what's shifting. The one-to-many is ending, and now we're in the age of the many-to-many. That means that each of you is here to be that representation on behalf of everybody else. Okay? So that's, just to elaborate on that so you don't all leave here going, oh my God, you know, Armageddon is...
No, I did not say that.
No, you didn't say that. No, I know you didn't say that. But so there's the disillusion of a system that's based in one-to-many that's now becoming many-to-many. Okay? Awesome.
And I have to tell you why I think the change is so good is that it's challenging us to really be that beautiful energy that Panache was talking about.
Yeah.
Like Santosh said very beautifully, she said, you know, Sister Jenna, when everything is going all right, we stop really trying.
Yeah, we do.
But when things seem like they're not going right, then see how good we start to really tap into our powers and our strengths. I have the wonderful pleasure of my friend Norma Kavi, who is an incredible spirit here and does a lot of work in the area. I can't read you her whole list. It's not important because she's not her role or her title. She's Nora, William's mom. What do you have to say?
Well, I kept sitting, I love what you said, it was awesome. And
Thank
the experience of being with you and everybody here. But I kept thinking about, you know, how do you use this teaching to stop the fracking off Santa Barbara coast and you know, deal with the oil spills and the dead zones and all that. And then I remembered, as you guys were talking now, that democracy is self-government. Democracy is not an autocracy with a leader at the top. It can only work when we self-govern.
Right.
And so this is the shift, right?
Right. And actually, just to answer that question, right now when you look at what's driving everything, it's the survival energy is what's driving everything. Humanity's evolving beyond this survival energy. Right? So why are we so out of harmony with the world? Why are we so out of harmony with ourselves? Because survival has been governing us. We're now at a point where we're evolving beyond the need to survive. And that's evolution. That's happening on a spiritual level. In that, then, new systems and structures will be created. So the end result is, why does everything play out in the way that it does? Because we're ignorant to our essential nature. The very second we connect with our essential nature, all of these things that are playing out would stop immediately. Because an individual who's in harmony with themselves would never do anything that was out of harmony with their reality. Exactly. You see, that's the power of this. So,
and I think Panache will also speak to this. I think that this path of being very truthful, and in your truth you don't have to be perfect in your truth. But in your being honest with yourself, your truth is emerging.
Yes.
And that's perhaps one of the most beautiful things that I love about the path of spirituality, or just what is being taught at the Brahma Kumaris. It's just that time and space that you're offered to be honest and truthful. That in time, it just starts to come out of you, and you no longer think that it's important to look and speak like everyone. Rather, it's more important to listen and speak from a truth that is really divine. All right, we're going to do what we love to do here is Toli, blessings. Panache will give everyone a blessing. Please come to me and for sweet, and I think Kartik has a few announcements. Please, Antonia, is there anything that you need to say as an announcement, please, before we go? Meditate the vote, CD, anything. We thought that we would have books for Panache. There's an order form, and if everyone would like to order Panache's book, because we went to Barnes & Noble, sold out. Here in Tyson's and where they were too is sold out, so don't think they're that easy to get. But we can take your order today before you leave. There's a table there. Okay, so Jan will go by the table and the order form will be there for you to order, and then I think we might make something up where Panache can sign it via something special. Let's see. All right? Okay. So, Kartik, any announcements?
Do you have anything? No? Clothing? All right. So, thanks to everybody,
and feel free to sit into the meditation. Sanjay is going to take us into a nice meditation experience, and then stay back where you can, and if you'd like to head off, then hope to see you again real soon. Antonia?
Announcements about events or...
I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this evening, or this afternoon, as well as our special guests, Panache and Jen, wherever she went. Also, we have a sale going on of some really nice items out in the hallway, so please stop by and see those. And all of the events that we offer here are done free of charge, so we appreciate any contributions which are tax deductible if you'd like to make that, so that we can continue to offer programs such as these for the community. We thank you very much.
Thank you, Antonia, for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sanjay, you pay us, and then we'll party to Beatles after.
Okay.
So just for a few moments, breathe in and out, relax, sit up, feel that you're the master, the authentic master. In these few moments, you are not your name, you're not your body, you're not your gender. You're not even your religion. You are wisdom. You are light.